Hello and welcome back to True Crime Guys Podcast. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Michael.
Another week, another serial killer.
And we're back.
And we're back. You had to do it for me.
It doesn't feel right. You got to say it.
Yeah.
You got to say it.
So yeah, we got another one for you.
We do another slasher.
Yep, another serial killer. This guy's, he's not on the radar big time.
No, he's not. I think it's because he wanted to be.
Yes.
I think it's
that's
just
the problem.
spite. It's out of spite, so no one's like, nope,
I think
I'm not going to study that dude.
Probably other podcasts, they were like, ooh, this guy sounds good. And then they started studying him like, oh, this guy loved like the attention way too much, loved himself way too much. I don't want to do him now. Yeah. And that's kind of the feeling I got midway through studying. I'm like, fuck this guy. I don't want to do him.
You don't deserve this.
It was too late. It's like Thursday already. I'm like, we're recording tomorrow. We got to do it.
We're giving him exactly what he wants.
Right? Exactly. At least he's dead and he can't enjoy it. So, well, we've alluded
He's
to
looking
him.
up at us from hell, just grinning.
Right. Loving every second of it.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get into him. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Tonight, in a special report, we look back at the man known as the Casanova Killer.
He was a martial arts expert.
That is not confirmed.
The year was 1974, and his killing spree began.
It makes no difference whether he strangled you, whether he shot you, whether he stabbed you, or what.
You felt cold when you looked in those eyes. He had those eyes that had no feeling. They were scary eyes.
Fast forward to August, when police say Knowles killed a Florida woman, stole her TV, and gave the color set to his ex-girlfriend.
He was tough. He was mean. Knowles knew where he was and what he had done. And his exact words were, "They're going to smoke me before this is over."
All right, our case this week. Who is it?
Paul John Knowles.
I picked it.
Yeah. I always want to say John Paul.
How did
it just rolls right off the tongue.
I'm trying to remember how I stumbled across him. I don't even remember. Anyways, he sounded interesting. His nickname is the Casanova Killer, not to be confused with Glenn Rogers, who is also called the Casanova Killer. But he's also called the cross-country killer, I think.
I'm glad that he shares a nickname with somebody. That's what he gets.
We're going to call Paul John Knowles the original Casanova Killer because he was around well before Glenn Rogers' name became known. This is another serial killer that was working in the 70s.
Yeah.
And the year, what was it?
74.
74 was the year of fear.
It was like 430 something serial killers.
Active serial killers.
Was somewhere between 4 and 450, I think.
But
and
all
the
the
year
big
before
ones.
there was less than 200.
All the big ones. I think Ted Bundy's first kill was 1974.
You know what this made me think about? You know how like every time like some crazy statistic comes out like that, like a lot, especially the religious folks, they're always like, "This is the end of times. This is it." Like, people, this happens all the time. There's all kinds of terrible things that happen. Imagine what they said in 74. You know,
right.
Oh, this is it. This all these serial killers running around.
Totally.
Jesus is coming back. Like, this is the end.
All of all of the division in our country and all of the marches and human rights and all this stuff and equal treatment, all that stuff was going on in the 60s too.
Yeah, all this stuff has happened, people.
Every generation, all of our parents, my parents told me that their parents said like, "Oh, you shouldn't have kids. It's like not looking good. Like the future doesn't look bright. Like wars. Like at least we don't have like world wars going on.
At least we don't have 400 serial killers working in California.
Exactly. There's progress, people."
No, that was the whole U.S., but it does seem like most of them were in California.
At least you can hitchhike and not expect to get chopped up nowadays.
Right.
For the most part.
Yeah.
You have a phone. You have a cell phone.
You can hitchhike with Uber.
Yeah.
You just call drivers now.
Right.
That's how safe it is.
That's true.
We just summon a stranger.
That should be their fucking
to pull up.
Honestly,
we've talked about this before. We scared people.
How is that not Uber's motto though? Like Uber, we won't kill you. Like we'll give you a ride and we won't cut you in half. Like,
our drivers get bonuses if they don't kill you.
Right. Right. Yeah. Rate 5 stars and I won't kill you.
This driver's driven 50 people and hasn't killed any.
Right. Yeah. So Paul John Knowles, as we mentioned, he was a serial killer during the 1970s, and loved himself way too much, and really was a serial killer in hopes that he would become famous for it. Which is unlike most of the people that we've focused on. Most serial killers, I feel like they were serial killers and they were gonna be. Yeah. And then they ended up getting off on the fact that they got so much attention for it. But that wasn't the reason they did it.
No.
Paul John Knowles, like that was the reason he did it.
Yeah.
Pretty much from the time he was a kid, he was which we'll go through his backstory, but he's at a certain point, I think probably in his early teen years, he decided, this is my fucking calling. I'm going to be known as a famous bad
Just
guy.
a rebel for no reason.
He was, at a young age, he was into reading books on famous gangsters and murderers, and he would brag to kids that he knew back then that, I'm going to be a bad guy.
Yeah, he was known for like talking back to adults and just saying the most brazen things.
Yeah, and there's that whole nature versus nurture argument. This is a big argument for nature. This guy, like,
Yeah.
go through his backstory. It didn't seem like he had bad parents necessarily. It was just they didn't know how to deal with this kid.
No, and genetics wise, he had a pretty good hand. I mean,
He was a redhead. He was a ginger. This case may be where the whole gingers don't have
is that
souls
why?
thing started. he had red hair, but he was known as the Casanova killer for a reason. He's a good-looking dude.
Yeah.
There's the famous picture of him from like anytime if you just Google
With
Paul,
the cigarette, is that the one you're talking?
of course,
It's
cigarette
cool.
hanging out. He
It's
looks cool as shit.
It's cool. I can't deny it. It's cool.
Right, as much as you don't want to think he's cool, this
Yeah.
picture is just the problem. We need to find some like stupid-looking pictures of him.
We
But I struggled. Every picture I found, he looks kind of cool.
need somebody to pull this picture. Anonymous, pull this picture down.
Put a dick in his mouth
This
instead of a cigarette.
He does not deserve this fame. Does not.
Yeah,
I mean, same thing can be said about Richard Ramirez, though, in some of his pictures.
yeah.
You know, but at least Richard. Never mind. I'm not gonna say at least. That sounds so terrible. Like I was gonna defend Richard Ramirez.
Yeah, man.
Well, at least his reasons for killing were better.
There's a big problem with this culture, man. So we've talked about it before, but like when I look at our Instagram feed, there's too many profiles of people just idolizing and like there's young teenage girls that I've seen on our Instagram that are like posting pictures like with hearts around like Richard Ramirez's head, and it's just like,
Yeah.
come on.
There's a thin
stop.
line, right? There's a thin line between fascination and wanting to learn about it, and
Yes, idolizing.
then idolizing. Yeah.
Now,
It can get
to be
scary.
fair, if you listen to our Panzram episode, we were kind of smitten with the guy. We've done it. We've been guilty of it. It's you have to
guilty.
check yourself sometimes
Yeah.
and go like, look, this is still a piece of shit human being. I'm glad that they're either dead or locked up,
Right.
and I do not want to hang out with them.
No.
That being said, Mindhunter, that show on Netflix, have you checked it out
No,
yet?
don't
Fucking
tell me about
phenomenal, man.
Don't tell me yet. I still.
And
haven't
that's the
watched it.
struggle of the lead character of it. This young guy that's working for the FBI. The whole time he's just like caught between, fascination, but also like he wants to hang out with these guys. It seems
really?
during the show. You got to watch it. It's great.
Okay.
But back to Paul John Knowles. So he was
All right.
born April 17th, 1946, in Orlando, Florida. Shares a birthday with Victoria Beckham and Jennifer Garner. Got a thing for Jennifer Garner. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. She's pretty.
Very, yeah.
They're both pretty women.
Her face is striking.
Maybe a lot of pretty people were born on that day.
I guess so.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe that's a good day.
Casanova, and then
That's right.
some beautiful women. Victoria Beckham, is that Bennett like Beckham's wife or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
David Beckham. Yeah.
After getting arrested for petty crimes as a kid, so we talked about he was always just a handful as a child.
Yeah. For
From the
no
get-
reason, apparently.
Yeah. And I guess like his first crime was when he was 7 or 9, he stole a bicycle.
Yeah. It's funny that like this book that we listened to. Do you want to plug that book? Do you have it?
You
Anyways, I'll tell the story while you're looking
you
that
keep
up.
going and I'll pull it up.
The way the author wrote this book was freaking cracking me up. Like he was trying to be like super over dramatic, and then he would be like, he'd be talking about Paul stealing a bicycle, right? And he'd be like, the same hands that stole that bicycle slit the throat of an elderly lady just
Right.
decades later. I'm like, dude, just calm down.
I don't
Just
think when he was stealing the bike, he was
slow
like,
down.
"Oh, this
slow
bike
down.
is going to be this feeling is going to be the same as when I kill him."
It was the same. It was the same thing though.
He was just stealing a bike, man.
Right. As he stares at himself brushing his teeth, the same fingers that hold that toothbrush, right, have strangled countless victims. Like, dude, chill out. He's just a kid right now. Like,
Exactly.
just chill out.
Yeah, so the book you're talking about, it was a very good book, though, as far as if you just want
Oh,
the
man,
information.
super
It's super
informative.
perfect for studying for us.
It was.
Everything was packed into like an hour and a half audio form.
It is
It's
jam-packed.
so much that I listened to it a couple times.
Yeah.
It's called The Casanova Killer, The Life of a Serial Killer, The Life of Serial Killer Paul John Knowles by Jack Smith.
Yeah, it's not one that you can daze off while you're listening.
No, you need to
There's no
focus.
downtime. It's just
Right.
it's just constantly. It's like it's a little bit on his backstory, and
It's
then
not
just
overly
killing,
descriptive,
killing.
like when he killed this person, the walls were dusty, and like, no, there's none of that. It's
No,
just like
it's not like a Stephen King book.
straight facts.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's good though.
It was perfect for studying, like
It
we
was.
said. If you just want to know the facts about Paul John Knowles, either listen to our show or listen to this book. Our book, most of the studying or most of the facts and information we got were from that book.
Yeah,
So
yeah, the basic outline. Yeah, it was great for that.
yeah. So yeah, after these petty crimes and like he had like a little ring of kids that, like, according to the book, it was saying that like he got like a little following
Yeah,
at a young age because he was the bad kid and like kids like were just drawn to him,
Right.
Because like he's always getting into shit.
Yeah.
We've known kids like that, right? I had a dude I hung out with that could have got me into a lot of trouble that we used to
Right.
go around and do all kinds of stupid shit with.
But these kids wouldn't do anything if they didn't have this group of people that idolize them for doing that stuff. It's like this kid
Yeah,
probably
you're right.
goes home, and when he's by himself, he's probably like an angel because he's just like, there's
Right.
no audience, there's no one to impress.
Right.
My reputation is not growing with no one around. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that was a lot of Paul John's problems.
Yeah, so after his parents didn't know what to do with him, they would end up, his father would give him over to the state where he spent years in foster care and reformatories. This is a common theme with serial killers. They get in
Right.
and out of boys' schools or different reformatories.
Right.
And by the age of 19, he was incarcerated. Now, before he was locked up at 19, he had kind of made a relationship with a girl who was in a relationship herself and
Yeah, he
had
was
kids.
Well, they were actually a couple still. She was still married at the time, but he kind of become friends with this couple, and they trusted him for whatever reason. You know, I mean, I guess he seemed to be going straight at this point.
Yeah.
Even though he was kind of still messing around in petty crimes and stuff.
Doing break-ins, which not that
Yeah.
petty, but yeah, he was
Yeah, I guess so.
thievery and whatnot,
But he really took to her kids, and and
which shows a different side of him. That
it does. It does. Not in a sexual bad way.
Right.
I mean, like apparently he really cared for these kids and her, and even her husband. Like they were friends
Yeah.
at the time. But at some point in time when he was incarcerated after 19, that woman and her husband broke up.
yeah.
And then when he was out on parole, he got with her, and it was okay for a while. He was with her, helping taking care of the kids and stuff, but he wasn't able to find like a steady job, like a good steady job. So he ended up going back to crime to try to support the family, and she was like, "Nah, I'm not having this," and so she was out.
It's so crazy to me that he like this is a conversation on its own where killers that end up killing kids, but like you see them like enjoying kids. Not in that way, but I mean, like being like a good parental figure to kids, like truly
Right.
seemed like to him, for instance, he ends up killing 2 kids later. Spoiler
Right.
alert. How the fuck do you do that when, like, he was enjoying this woman's kids, like they were like his own for a little while. He's taking them out and taking them to like the circus, taking them all over the place.
Because right now,
Like, John Wayne Gacy, another good example. Like he was with a woman and had kids,
yeah,
and like he was supposedly a great father. Like Christmas time, he's dressing up as Santa. Like the kids loved him. And yet he's got all these teenage boys under his freaking house. Like,
well, I don't know about John Wayne Gacy, but I think Paul John Knowles at this time still had hope. He still had hope of living a normal life. He still had hope of going straight. He still had somebody who loved him, and he had people that counted on him. Independent. And then when she left, that was strike one. That's strike one. You know what I mean? It's like a little bit of his heart just
right.
chunked off. So that's
Nonetheless, though, how can you, like, it had nothing to do with the kids. He seems like he, like, appreciates kids, and then he later on kills. I just don't know how you can, what switch flips there to where you can now commit an act like that on children.
well, he spent time with these kids, the kids that he didn't.
How do you detach that, though? Like, I guess, like, how can a killer, like, love someone and never want to hurt them
you ever
and
had
be protective over someone, but then go and kill other people? I guess this is really the same concept, I guess.
Well, have you ever had friends with kids and they just got these bratty ass kids and you just can't stand them?
Yeah, I
But then
guess.
you got some friends that are like, man, these kids are so freaking good.
Yeah.
Every time they come over here, they're so polite.
So you're saying you could kill the bratty ones?
You could, I'm just saying, you could like one a little more than the other
Yeah,
if they're not your kids.
There's a detachment
okay.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, if they're not your kids.
Yeah.
I mean, if that kid, obviously, if the bratty kid's in danger, you're still going to save them.
It's the
They
same.
still have a chance to turn around.
It's the same argument where we talked about the vampire Dusseldorf last week, that he had
Yeah.
the one woman that he cared for, and he tried to
right.
take care of her after he got locked up,
Right.
and get her the reward and all that. But he was killing other women and killing men and killing everyone.
He had a convulsion. Like he couldn't control his killing.
Yeah.
Like Paul John could have. He could have turned it around if
Right.
he wanted to. He just
Another
it was
serial
just the
killer signed
easiest
to have-
route to be famous.
Another serial killer signed to have 2 first names, by the way. Paul John.
Yeah,
That's a big one.
Is that what we're gonna call him? I don't know what to call him.
PJ.
Call him PJ.
Casanova. I don't know.
All right.
Doesn't matter.
Whatever.
I
Yeah, it
think
doesn't
Paul
matter.
John is what we're calling him. It's what we've been calling him.
All right, let's do it.
So in 1974, he would end up in prison again. I'm not sure what that one. I think it was for a break-in
Yeah, all these were
with criminal
break-ins.
intent. I think it was like a breaking and entering with intent to commit a felony. I think was what it
Right,
was.
right.
He got locked up for several years. And while in prison at Raiford Prison in Florida State, this one is Raiford Prison is kind of a notorious
Really?
place. Yeah, I was looking into it. It's like the 3 walls of something. It looked pretty sketchy when I saw the
I think it's
video.
the 4 walls, right?
Four
Don't it have
walls.
that huge courtyard with
Yeah.
the walls are like 50 feet?
Yeah.
Panzerman would have got out of there.
Oh, dude.
He would have
He would have built a 50-foot ladder, fallen off, had broken his ankles, crawled out of there.
and then just decided to dig out with his own ankle bone.
Right. Now, while in Raiford Prison in 1974, he began corresponding with a divorced woman in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. Her name was Angela Kovic, and she went as far as to, well, I think I first want to say that while he was in prison, he had a common grounds in that with this woman, in that he got really into studying like the horoscopes and tarot cards. He was really into that.
Yeah. Like, they controlled his whole moods.
Yeah.
Like if he read like a bad horoscope or whatever, he was pissed off
Yeah.
for the day. Or like if a horoscope was like, oh, this new venture, may bring you harm or whatever, like he wouldn't do anything new that day. Like
Right.
that's how serious he took this shit.
How do you feel about horoscopes? You put any stock into them at all?
I don't know.
I don't.
No,
I don't. Because I feel
like they're so generic that you can find things.
You know what I
in
think
your life
everyone
if you
does
think
is
about
they
it hard
only
enough.
go and read theirs, and they
Yeah.
attach themselves to that. And like at least 3
Well,
of these
we're
things are-
naturally narcissistic people as humans.
But if you go like intentionally read a different one that's not yours, say you're a Libra and you go read a Pisces,
This is what you do.
But you tell yourself it's a Libra one, you're gonna see.
That's what I
stuff
was
there.
just about to say. Like, if you have a friend that truly believes in this stuff, read them a horoscope that's not theirs and see how they react.
Oh, that's me. That's totally.
totally me.
Oh, okay, that's weird because that's Pisces and you're a Libra, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, well, there was the one thing that didn't add up. I was going to say something, but
Yeah, very much like psychics when they throw out there like I'm feeling a strong feeling is your son, your daughter, your father. Your
speaking of,
my father. Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, you conveniently forgot about the daughter and the.
yeah, my father. Yeah, that's him. You're on. You're
You're just choosing the one that fits you.
You're looking
and
right
forgetting
into
the
my
rest.
mind.
Yeah. So, anyways, this woman, Angela Kovic, she was into this kind of stuff as well.
yeah, she was.
And so they began communicating. I don't know how it's a whole other conversation too. A lot of women, and men for that matter, like bad guys, bad boys, they start
Yeah.
writing to these people in prison, and like you'll see women get married to guys like Richard Ramirez while they're locked up on death
yeah,
row, and
yeah.
like you're like, what is going on there?
And like Charles Manson, like he's still married.
And
right?
you know they're hoping they never get out. That's part of the allure. Is like, okay, he's dangerous, but he likes me, and he killed other women, but he can't kill me, and he probably wouldn't if he got out. But I'll never find out.
What if they're just that afraid of him? They become fascinated with that person, and they're that afraid of him. They're like, what's the one thing that can not get me killed?
I think if you're just a random
That's a
person,
terrible idea. Like, I would be as far away from him as
Exactly.
possible.
Don't connect yourself
Yeah,
to them.
don't connect.
Make it be known and write letters with your address on them. But definitely not.
That's definitely not the
not
right
good.
way to go.
Right.
If I'm nice enough, he won't come to my house.
So she seemed to like the correspondence and liked him, really was into him while he was locked up. She visited him at prison in Florida. She actually went all the way out there and visited him from California to Florida. And it was going well. During the visit, desperate, he proposed to Angela, and she accepted and paid his legal fees to have him released. Helped
So
him
she
get
wasn't
parole.
afraid of him to get out, see?
But
So not all of them
between then and when he got out, she went to a
psychic.
a psychic or a palm reader
like
or
a palm-
something.
Or tarot card reader. or
And the
whatever.
person said that there was a dark force, a bad person coming into her life.
Yeah.
And so when
She just assumed it was him.
so when Paul got there, she was not into him anymore, and it was over.
Yeah.
And this is supposedly the trigger that changed him, because that night would be the first night that he would kill.
Yep, that's strike 2 and 3 right there.
Right.
He's done. He's done with women.
So in Florida, after coming to visit her, she unexpectedly canceled the wedding, claimed that she visited the psychic, and Paul confessed on that night that he was so angry that he devised and killed 3 people on the streets of San Francisco, which this was never proven.
Yeah, that was never
He was
proven.
later attributed to the murders of 18 people. This was not, these 3 that he claims were not on that
Right.
list.
You know what that reminded me of? That reminded me of, wasn't it the Vampire Dusseldorf? Wasn't it Peter Curtin who went and just stabbed 3 random people to throw the cops off?
Right.
Like right away. He was just like,
Right.
and just walks away.
Yeah.
It reminded me of something like, I'm like, why is it always 3? Why do bad things come in 3s, I guess?
Right. So he would return to Jacksonville, Florida, where he had all of his bad roots. And by July of 1974, he was arrested again. This time for beating the living hell out of a bartender during a fight,
Oh,
and
yeah.
stabbing him.
Apparently, he beat the shit out of this dude, like almost dead. Like Paul was not a stranger to fights. Like he got beat up a lot. Like apparently, even in his teen years, he had like no respect for women whatsoever. Like
Yeah.
if he hit on a girl or whatever and she turned him down, like he would literally punch them in the face.
Apparently, he got beat up by a
So-
lot of their boyfriends.
Exactly.
and
So that's what I was
dads.
saying. So guys would come to these women's aids and beat the fuck out of this dude.
Right.
And it just didn't faze him. It didn't change him. He didn't care. It's like, I mean, I guess you kind of get like that sometimes when you get so mad, you're just like, fuck it. It's like you wanna just destroy yourself anyway. So you're just like, no, whatever.
I think his biggest issue was just his ego, and like he had to be a big shot, important all the time.
He did. Yeah.
And when someone showed him that he wasn't, he would get angered, short temper, and like
Cussing out adults wasn't impressive anymore.
right,
So stealing bicycles wasn't making him
wasn't
cool
doing
anymore.
it, wasn't quite doing it for him
Right. So
anymore.
he had to up the ante a little.
Yeah. So after getting locked up for the bartender fight, while being held at the detention center, he picked the lock. He must have known he was going away
He
for a
was
while.
out on probation
He had
here,
quite a
too.
record, and this violent offense was not going to be good. He was going to get locked up for a while. So
He was a hell of a
Lockpick?
freaking lockpick, dude.
he was. He must have
What the
just
hell?
had freaking paper clips on him at all times, or
Yeah, he just carries paper clips. Yeah,
The
And a
paper
tiny
clip killer.
screwdriver or something like right.
so he picks the lock and escapes jail, and this would start the spree of cross country killing. That night that he got out of jail would be his very first official on the books killing. Now we don't
Right.
know about the San Francisco 3 that he claimed to have killed,
Right,
but on the night of his escape, he broke into the home of a
65-year-old woman.
1965-year-old woman.
1965.
No. He broke into the home of a 65-year-old woman named Alice Curtis, destroyed her home to the point where later, when the cops arrived, they thought that multiple people were there. That's how much that was a common thing that he did.
Yeah.
When he broke into homes, he just ravaged them. And just
Yeah, like
smashed
cut up
everything.
furniture, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, destroyed.
Like a freaking hurricane came through.
Yeah, like cutting up couch cushions, and he searched everything, man. Cutting everything in half.
Initially, he used to take all his rage out on furniture, but then he decided to start doing it on people, basically, is what it seems like.
Well, this first lady, according to him, he killed her on accident
yes.
because he gagged her.
Very
and
common with
bound
serial
her
killers
as
as
soon
well.
as-
Very
yeah.
common. John Wayne Gacy, supposedly his first victim. Remember the dude that cooked breakfast and he thought that he was going to stab him.
Accidentally stabbed him to death.
He ended up killing the guy.
Yeah.
And that's when they get a taste for it. We talked about how killing, like it must be addicting because the first one seems to spark. It's not like they're ever like, damn it, I can't believe I just killed someone. I'll never do that again. They're like,
No.
huh.
Well,
That was
it wasn't-
awfully easy.
It wasn't so bad, and now they can't call anybody, and
Right.
you know,
This really solves a lot of issues that I was going to have to deal with.
It's kinda
They can't
easier.
identify me in court anymore.
No, this is easier. I think I'll. But anyway, he gagged her and bound her when he got in, and apparently
She
the
actually-
gag like pulled her dentures out.
Yeah.
and she choked on her own dentures.
That's really unfortunate.
That's rough. He had to have heard her in there though. I don't know. Maybe all the ripping of cushions and shit. Maybe he didn't hear.
They're not even sure if she was dead while he was there, or if she died after he left.
Oh, he may have just left her. Okay, I
Left
got you.
her when he
Right.
left her. She may have been alive, and then afterwards she choked on her. So he. But I mean, I think he knew that she was dead, so he must have known because part of his number when he wrote down the number when he was arrested later, 18. She was on that, so he must have known
Yeah.
she was dead.
Yeah.
Who knows if this was even an accident?
Well, he could have saw her in the news though. He could have.
Yeah, you're
He
right.
could have saw her in the news.
You're right.
But yeah, this kind of lit his fire though. He was like, "Oh, I'm definitely going to get some publicity on this."
Yep.
So past the point of no return.
The book speculated that maybe part of his early reasoning for killing is that when he didn't get any respect in his prison sentences, at times that he was in jail and
That's
in prison,
right,
he
yeah.
got no respect as a petty crime.
As a petty
he was
thief,
on the
that's
lower
right.
end of the prison, but he noticed that the killers, the known killers in prison, get a lot more respect, and that may have
Right.
been part of it.
Yeah. I mean, you got respect as a small time thief if you were affiliated with bigger criminals, with
Yeah.
bigger killers. But him just being a lone wolf with these petty crimes, yeah, he wasn't getting any respect.
He was
in
known to be a
prison.
loner in prison as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
for sure. He then stole Alice's Dodge Dart, and pretty sweet car actually back in the day, those 70s Dodge Darts.
Oh yeah.
Later abandoned it once police connected him to the crime. When he went to the ditch, ditch the car, he spotted 2 young girls watching him out the window who were actually family acquaintances.
Yeah.
This is one of the
I think his mother was friends with their mother, or something like that,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's
they knew him.
This is the darkest part of this story by far. This is the part that was like, I was like, oh, this is rough. So the 2 girls that were watching him out the window were 11-year-old Lillian Anderson and 7-year-old Mylette Anderson.
Yeah.
He lured the 2 girls into the Dodge Dart because he was afraid that they would be able to identify him with that car, having known him because of the family connection or whatever.
Right.
And supposedly kidnapped them, strangled, and dumped their bodies in a swamp outside of town. Now, I've read some sources that said that he raped them, but the main source, the book that we read, didn't say that.
No,
it just said
I didn't see
and
that.
it didn't
many
make
sources
sense
either.
He didn't do that to any other children in the story.
Right.
It makes sense that he killed them to cover up his crime, but it's obviously inexcusable regardless.
Yeah, and I think it's because they knew him by name and they were old enough to be able to testify and state that. Because a lot of the children he left alive, I think he might have left a boy alive later that was 6.
So tragic the way
only a
that it
year
happened,
younger.
though. The way that it happened is just like, if you're a parent, it's just horrifying because the mom had left at 6 p.m.
Oh, right.
The mom had left at 6 p.m. The father got off work at 6 p.m., but he got held up for an hour at work. So he got home an hour late, and in that hour was the time that Paul had kidnapped these 2 girls.
Yep.
In that hour window. This wasn't a normal occurrence.
And
His
they
mom
knew
had
that-
to leave for an emergency. It was a
Yep.
family emergency. She had to go to the hospital for somebody. Just a freak incident that happened. She normally would have been home until the father
Right.
was home. It's horrifying. And the father never recovered from this.
No, he didn't. He always expected them to come back.
Because
he knew
they
they didn't
never
run
moved
away.
out of that house. They lived in that house the rest of their lives.
Never
until
changed
he
the phone
died.
number.
Never, expecting that someday his daughter and the wife, the mother of the 2 girls, had at a certain point accepted the fact that her daughters were dead, and she could never actually get that closure. Obviously, they didn't find the bodies.
Yeah.
It's still an open case. These 2 girls, if you look them up, Mylette and Lillian Anderson, if you Google them, it comes up on a missing persons page as if it's still an unsolved case.
Because they searched every swamp in the area and they could not find the remains.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean anything.
But that gave the father hope. And after he died, the mom finally actually did a proper burial, got headstones for the 2 girls.
Yeah.
Many, many, many years later.
But here's the thing, though. This shows you just how much that father was in denial. Both of these girls were on medication.
Yeah,
Like
thyroid
medication
issues.
that they needed. One of them had thyroid issue and one of them had asthma.
Yeah.
Like, so eventually
But
they're
could you
gonna
ever let
need-
go, though? I mean, you have to
Absolutely
hold on to hope
not.
as a parent.
Absolutely not. No. I mean, you're reeling through any possibility. Like, maybe, who knows? Maybe they ran away and robbed a pharmacy. Shit,
Right.
they're gonna be fine.
Exactly.
They'll come to their senses and come back. Like, I don't know. You're just anything but that.
Right. And the next day, on August 2nd, in Atlantic Beach, Florida, Paul broke into the home of 49-year-old Marjorie Howe. He strangled her to death with a stocking.
And y'all hang on here because it's one after another right here.
Supposedly,
This dude
and
does not slow down.
Yeah, this is the spree part. This is the serial killer part. We've gone through episodes like this where, it's the Richard Ramirez one with
Yeah.
the entire 2 parts was like this. Where it's
Yeah,
just like,
pretty
then he
much.
went into this house and killed this person.
Right.
Supposedly, he killed 49-year-old Marjorie because he liked her TV a lot and wanted the TV. Now, the way that he would get into a lot of these people's homes, he would knock on their door sometimes, and he would just find a reason to get inside. What is it? One of them, one of these people, he told that he worked for the IRS.
Yeah.
Like he just had all these different rackets
Yep.
of ways that he would get into people's houses. So, I mean, I'm sure most of you guys listening to this have heard enough stories that you would never let a random person in your house because they said that they were something.
Right.
If no matter what they're wearing, if they have a Cox Cable freaking T-shirt on,
Especially
do not ever let
in
anyone in your house.
In the era of death of 1974.
Don't even open your door because a lot of people force their way up into your house if you allow a little sliver.
Yeah.
Hopefully you have
Yep.
security gates or you have some kind of an intercom you can talk to a person through the doors. Be very weary because that's how he got into these people's houses a lot of times. They would crack the door to ask who it was and he would force his way in.
Yep.
So his next victim would end up being teenage Jane Doe, who was hitchhiking. The girl went unidentified for 30 plus years until December 21st, 2011, when the Georgia Bureau of Investigation identified her. Her name was Ima Jean Sanders. She was a 13-year-old runaway from Beaumont, Texas, who went missing August of 1974. Now, this is a girl that constantly she was known as a runaway. Her dad was like, he wasn't too concerned initially because she was the type that she would disappear and be like, oh, she'll turn up again. This was the 70s. She would run off with friends and such. But she was actually back during this time that she was kidnapped. She came back. Her younger sister was all excited. And she left her younger sister that night, and she was just supposed to be going out with some friends.
Right.
And ended up hitchhiking back from hanging out with her friends, and that's where she was picked up by Paul. And her body would not be found for another, like I said, 30 plus years.
Right. 2011. Wow.
Yeah, wasn't that the one where he left her body in the woods and he came back weeks later? This is another common thing with serial killers where they come back to the crime scene.
And her jawbone had been detached, and he decided to bury it. Just the jawbone.
Animals had gotten to the body.
What do you think that was about?
I'm not sure.
Like, why would he just bury
Some
the
serial
jawbone?
killers, they have like a weird attachment to their victims. Like they're almost protective over them. That was something that the book kind of brought up.
Yeah. Maybe he felt like, I want to at least keep her all together right here in this area.
Maybe he was worried about
Why
that
not bury
being
the whole body?
found.
Why not bury the whole body? He's just laziness.
Were dental records a thing during this time? Could they identify someone by dental records? Probably.
Probably, yeah.
So maybe that was his concern. I'm not sure. They never did find the jawbone, which is one thing that they were able to confirm that it was Paul, because he told them in his confession that he had done this jawbone thing. So when they found the remains many years later, they noticed that the body didn't have a jawbone on it, and they're like, "Oh, it must have been him because of that confession," you know.
Yeah.
On August 23rd, Paul was in Musella, Georgia. Now this is where he's traveling around. He could have also been known as the cross-country killer because the dude killed in 7 different states. Committed crimes in I don't know how many states,
basically
countless
the
states.
southern part of the U.S.
But he even made his way to Nevada. He killed someone in Nevada, which we'll get to.
That's what I'm saying, like southern Nevada, right?
Oh, like Southwest?
I mean, I'm talking like south. You know, if you divide the United States in the south, he pretty much stayed down in that area.
Yeah. So on August 23rd, he was in Musella, Georgia, where he invaded the home of Kathy Sue Pierce and strangled her with a phone cord in front of her 3-year-old son. Absolutely horrific.
That is, and he left that boy fine. He didn't harm him at all.
He led the boy into another room after killing her. And what did he do with her body? I can't remember. I think he left her there strangled.
He dragged her into the bathroom and then left her in there.
Yeah.
So I was just looking up to see when dental records were a thing.
Oh, okay. On September 3rd, that same year, Knowles went to a pub near Lima, Ohio, called the Scott's Inn, where he met a 32-year-old accountant named William Bates. Now, this shows you that not all his victims were women. He didn't discriminate as far as opportunities went. He was killing to steal. Yeah. He was killing to steal. He was killing to make a name for himself.
At this point, he realized that he's never getting another job.
He wasn't really a sexual killer. It was more of a thrill killer type of situation where he got off on knowing that he was doing bad shit and that he was going to someday be a celebrity over it. He wasn't this impulsive like sexual urge where he got off on, hurting people sexually or anything like that.
No, I don't think so. I think if it was just convenient or whatever, and he had the urge.
What'd you find on dental records?
So there's been a couple cases throughout history where these dental records or these bite mark comparisons have been accepted and actually won in cases like all the way back to 1692 during the Salem witch trials. Reverend George Burroughs was accused of witchcraft and conspiring with the devil with biting his victims, and they were able to compare his bite marks and actually convict him.
Okay.
But as far as like
keeping dental records?
But as far as like actually keeping dental records and that being like a more valid source, it was not till 1984.
Where it became like readily acceptable in court. Okay.
That became like an
That's
actual
crazy.
thing.
It's just crazy how in the dark, like how hard it must have been to catch killers in the 70s. You know what I mean? Which was a big reason probably why they were running rampant. But like going state to state, like there's no, like, if you're an investigator, you come across these bodies that Paul John Knowles or Randy Kraft or whoever's killing during this time all over the place.
Yep.
If you don't have fingerprints at the scene and you don't have a witness that's alive that can tell you what he looked like, and you don't have motive, if it's just a random person this person's killing, good luck. good luck. He's going state to state and just randomly breaking into homes and killing people.
That's
like
right.
you ain't catching this dude unless you catch him red-handed, pretty much.
That's exactly right. Yep.
That's why he goes
Or in a
this,
stolen car or something
yeah,
like that.
yeah. That was a big thing with him. That ended up catching up to him. That he kept taking stuff from these victims and having it on them, either driving their cars,
riding around
or
the
having
same
their,
area.
having their TVs or their clothes. There was a victim this guy that we're getting to right now. It's perfect timing. So yeah, he went to that bar and he met the accountant named William Bates. They had a drink together throughout the night, and then they left together. Now Paul was known to supposedly he had this friend that he had told that he was real good at picking up on a homosexual man when they walked into a room. Like if a guy walked into a bar, he could tell that the guy was gay even if he wasn't really making it obvious. This is the 70s; it wasn't really that well accepted. So you had to have you had to be able to a good gaydar, I guess you could say, for lack of a better term.
I think he improved his gaydar in prison.
Yeah,
from what I hear,
probably.
yeah,
he
did.
So he could tell that this is a guy that he could give hope that maybe the sex would happen.
Right.
He ended up going back
seduce.
to seduce. There you go. And so he rode to the guy's home in his car, and he left the abandoned the Dodge Dart, and it was found next to this bar that he'd picked this guy up. So he's starting to leave a trail, a breadcrumb trail.
Right. I'm guessing he's wiping down these cars. That was never mentioned, but I'm guessing he was wiping.
Well, even if they were
fingerprints
getting
off of
prints, they
things.
would have to have something to match it to.
Well, he's been in prison multiple times, so his fingerprints are on file.
You would hope.
Oh,
Yeah, you would think for
Certainly.
sure. So near the bar was the abandoned Dodge Dart that was found. William Bates, he would kill that night. His body would not be found until October. He was found nude, strangled, and dumped in the woods. Paul had stolen his car, credit cards, and cash, and his clothes was a big thing.
Yeah.
I think he saw this good, well dressed dude that he picked up on a gay vibe from, and part of it probably wanted the dude's wardrobe. I think honestly, he was an opportunist, and he liked to dress well.
Yeah,
he
was big on presentation. He wanted to look rich. He wanted to look wealthy.
He liked to have their credit cards. This guy probably he put off a vibe that this dude had money. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he stole the dude's wardrobe, his credit cards, and then he was going around town. He was going around these different states like a big shot, using the credit cards everywhere. That's another bread trail there.
Yep.
He headed across the country and came to Ely, Nevada. Now, the book said it wrong. It said Eli.
They said Eli, didn't they?
Yeah, it's Ely, and it's Nevada, not Nevada.
That's kind of like the middle, like as far as north to south, it's kind of in the middle, and then eastern part of the state.
Yeah, I actually go to Ely quite often, every year or so, to go hunting. It's a cool little town.
Nice.
Anybody listening from Eli, hit us up. I doubt it. It's not a
You
big
mean Ely?
Yeah, Ely. Did I say Eli? God damn it.
Things we got wrong.
Oh shit. So hit us up. It's not a big population. I doubt we have any listeners there. That'd be kind of silly if it was. Kind of cool. On September 18th, he found two elderly people from another state. They were camping in Ely in a camp. They had like an RV, I guess.
Yeah.
And it was Emmett and Louise Johnson. He bound and shot both of them at point blank range. It's just good. The randomness is just so scary.
random,
It's just the scariest type of criminal, you're just camping. I've always worried about that camping.
Oh, I know, right? You feel defenseless.
Yeah,
like,
we talked
even if
about
you have a
the
weapon,
Manitou,
you just,
the Gitchy episode.
Yep.
Where anything can happen when you're out there.
That's right.
You should be scared if you're camping. If you're listening to this camping right now, just take a good look around.
Yeah.
By September 21st, Paul had made it to Seguin, Texas. Seguin? See, I'm probably sending every
Seguin.
other. I'm all particular about the way the Nevada states or Nevada cities are said, but I'm probably just butchering every other town in this country. Seguin, Texas. He came across a stranded motorcyclist, Charlene Hicks, and he abducted, raped, and strangled Charlene with her own pantyhose and then dragged her body through a barbed wire fence.
I don't understand that. Like, what do you mean dragged her through a
So
barbed
what
wire
happened
fence?
was there was the fence divided like an open clearing off the highway.
Oh,
and
right.
then the barbed wire fence divided from like some shrubbery where he could hide the body. So he had to get the body past that, and in order to
I just
do
like
that,
how that's always mentioned. Dragged her through a barbed wire
it just made it
fence.
sound worse. It sounded like he did it in some kind of a sadistic way, but it was more just out of necessity. He had to get the
Right.
body out of sight.
He probably just couldn't pick her up and throw her over it, so he's like,
Right.
just drag her through it. I guess I don't know.
Her body would
That's
end up
awful.
being found several days later. His next stop would be Birmingham, Alabama on September 23rd.
Oh shit!
Where he met a beautician named Ann Dawson. He traveled with Ann for about a week, paying for all the expenses.
Right.
Before he finally tired of her and killed her.
And there you go. That's a great example of getting too close.
He claimed, right?
There's no safety in being too close to these people.
Right. He claimed on his confession that he threw her body into the Mississippi River, but it was never found. Well, that's not a shocker. If you throw it into the Mississippi River,
Yeah, it's probably not going to be found.
yes, it's probably nowhere near where he put it in initially.
Oh, no. Yeah.
October 19th. It's just interesting that he drove around with her for a while. It makes you wonder, like, what qualities in a person is probably someone who's really smitten with him that he would keep around, right?
I would think so.
As long as like they're kissing his ass and like they think he's really cool,
Yeah.
that's the vibe I get.
Maybe
or
he's
if you
just
could
lonely.
help him.
Maybe he's just lonely being out there by himself for so long.
There's another person coming real soon that would eventually write a book about him that he would hang out with for a while, and
Yeah.
it was because she had that. She was a. We'll get to it.
Yeah.
She had something to offer for him.
Right.
So either you're like really smitten with him and he feels cool around you.
Right.
That's why he keeps you alive, or you have something else that you can offer. Is my
You don't
guess.
think he was just searching for a little bit of normalcy? Just kind of like, it's such a chaotic life he's living right now, and he's like, it's kind of nice
I don't
to
think
just
he
have
liked
somebody.
normalcy. I don't think he liked normalcy at all.
You don't think he liked a little downtime? You don't think he liked a little downtime, Lauren?
Maybe.
Like, think about all the
Little
things
human
that you love to
interaction
do.
with someone
Like,
that he's not killing.
there's like as much as I love to podcast, I enjoy my weeks off, just like just being normal, not having to worry about anything.
Yeah.
Maybe that's kind of what he did. And then he was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna go back to killing. I'm gonna start with you.
We do like we like downtime from killing as well. At least talking about it,
Right. Yeah.
here and there. We just had a little week off. It was nice. In October of 1974, Paul arrived in Marlborough, Connecticut. Jeez, he's all over. See, that's not in the South, man. That's way up
true.
there.
It's not.
Where he entered the home of a 16-year-old named Dawn Wine, while her mother, Karen. I think the mother was gone at the moment, and he forced his way inside, and then her mother arrived after he had already bound and
Yeah.
raped Dawn, and then he then bound her and raped her as well. He then strangled her with nylon stockings. I think he was more of an opportunist rapist in that he would just go up to random homes that looked kind of like Richard Ramirez would do, where he would look for the right looking home. It looked
Right. No porch light.
where it was located,
Yeah.
if it looked dark or whatever, I think. And then if he happened to knock on the door and the person that answered looked like someone that he was sexually attracted to, he would then take that opportunity.
Yeah.
That's my guess as far as that. Oh, we talked about him not really being a sexually driven killer. That's not why he was killing. It was
Right.
just if the opportunity presented itself, he would also do that.
At this point, I think he's just killing to sustain himself. He's just killing
Yeah.
for money. He's killing for objects. He's killing for fame. That's pretty much it right now.
Right.
Because and this kill is obvious, is evidence of that, because all he takes from this house is a tape recorder, and that's just simply to document what he's doing.
Right.
So
Which would end up being a big part of this case, the tape recorder.
yeah, a lot of the stuff when we said like allegedly he stabbed 3 people, or he did this, but there's no proof. All that came from the tape recorders.
Yeah.
And then but
It's at this
Most
point
of
that
it
he would
could be
begin.
proven.
It's at this point that he would begin documenting his crimes in order to build a case for his fame.
right.
You know what I mean? He wanted all this shit out there. Once his downfall happened, which he knew, he was convinced he was going to be dead within a year or two. The span that he was on, and
Yeah.
he wanted the Bonnie and Clyde type epic end. He
Right.
kind of wanted to be killed in a glorious fashion.
He should have took more pictures like Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah.
Or he should have wrote essays like Pan's Ram.
Yeah.
That's what he should have
No,
done.
his
man.
thing was the tape recorder, dude.
Well, the tapes got destroyed. Now what?
We'll get there.
Oh,
On October 18th, Paul was in Woodford, Virginia, when he broke into the home of 53-year-old Doris Hosey, or Housey. He shot Doris to death with her husband's rifle. This one's kind of crazy. He asked her,
so he goes in.
he goes in.
He knocks on the door and he's like, "I just need a rifle and that's it. Or I need a gun. That's it, and I'll leave."
yeah,
And her just not wanting to be confrontational, did everything he said, which is strange because there was some women he let go, right? That did everything he said. Weren't there a few people that he encountered?
Later on, there was at least
later
one.
on. Okay,
There was at
so
least one that
he
he
wasn't
did.
doing that yet.
Right.
But yeah, so he tells her, "I just need a gun and I'll be on my way." And she takes him to the gun cabinet, whatever. Gives him a rifle, gives him ammo. He loads it, shoots her in the face.
And then he leaves the
Just
gun,
right
so he
away.
didn't even
Wipes
need the gun.
the prints off.
He was
and
just
then
killing her
leaves
to
the gun.
He was just killing her just to add to his
Yep.
list of victims. Is all this one was.
That's all it was. Just more news.
Right.
Just more news. That's it.
God, it's just
Driving the cops crazy. Now they're going to this crime scene going, what the hell? She
you
was
think she
killed with
sat
her
th-
own gun. Her gun's sitting here. It wasn't a suicide because of the directory of the bullet. what the fuck is going on?
Right. Do you think she sat there and watched him load it up, like wondering, like, is he going to shoot me right now?
Oh, absolutely.
God, it's just terrible.
You imagine that scene, just quiet. He's probably not saying anything.
No.
He's just loading it. And
Ugh. There was no sign of robbery or sexual assault, and the motive remained a mystery to the police.
that's what I'm saying. I think this was just a throw him off case. This
Right.
was just a change. Let's change the MO. Let's do something
Yeah,
completely
'cause
crazy.
So many other times he absolutely destroyed the house, did this, did that, raped some people, didn't rape others.
Right. Just a quick shot to the face and he's out.
Now, while he was still driving the car that he'd stole from Ohio from William Bates, the guy with the nice wardrobe and,
Oh, that's right, yeah.
credit card. So he's getting a little more, I don't know, brazen about it, which that's very common as well. Serial killers we've covered, where they just get more and more confident.
Yeah, and he's watching the news and he's watching these things and he's seeing that the police are confused, even though the cops don't tell you what they know. I mean, let's just be real. But so while he's driving in this car, where is he in Ohio now? No, he
Key
stole the
West.
car from Ohio. Now he's back in Florida.
Yep,
And he picks up two hitchhikers.
a couple,
Yeah,
a man and a woman, and he's
planning
planning
to
on
kill these people.
Yeah, planning on killing them both. And he has his first real close run-in with the law while being a serial killer. He gets pulled over by the police on a traffic violation in the stolen car
In the stolen car.
from a victim of a dead man. I don't know how this...
How does he get let go with a warning?
They probably, they didn't have the computers, the cops like they do now, where they can just pull up a license plate from another state right there on the spot, sitting in the car, and go, okay, well, this is a stolen car from a dead man.
Right.
It would have been over nowadays.
But did he not ask for ID, you think? Oh, he probably gave him Bates's ID, but then the picture wouldn't match. Like,
yeah, I don't get it. What ends up happening is the
Shitty
officer
police work, man.
let Paul go, and because he got pulled over, he ended up letting the couple that he picked up go because out of fear that he had been seen with them and not wanting to risk it.
that's right.
He was shaken by this encounter with the police, so he let the hitchhikers go, and then he called his lawyer. Love this part of the story. His lawyer is super fucking interesting to me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Shady character. He's the typical Saul Goodman.
He is Saul Goodman. Better Call Saul. He loves
right.
he loves shady criminals as his clients. He assumes they're guilty.
Yep.
He doesn't care. He at one point he took a stolen Mercedes as like a payment for defending one of his criminals.
Didn't he have
He would try to get them off on technicalities in the law because he knew they were guilty and he couldn't prove their innocence.
And didn't he have felons working for him? Wasn't his secretary like a felon of some sort, like a drug trafficker?
I found an article that's just all about his lawyer, Sheldon Yavetson.
Yeah.
Yavitz, my bad. It talks about how he defended jewelry thieves who paid his fee in jewelry, Cuban extortionists who lobbed hand grenades at their marks, a guy who liked to rob porn bookstores, a gay boat captain who smuggled marijuana, an old con man who was so senile he forgot where he'd hidden his money, a marijuana smuggling gang that shipped its goods to Federal Express, a burglary ring that paid him with a Cobra sports car, which is what I was just talking about.
Yeah.
This dude is just he's a character.
Yes.
And he would end up being locked up for over 20 years, and he would never rat out any of his clients.
None of them. That's
He probably knew he'd be a dead man if he did.
Yeah.
To be fair,
He'd
but,
probably been killed in prison if he had done that.
right. So Paul goes to this guy. This is his lawyer, and he basically sits down with him and tells him, like, "Look, brace yourself. I'm a mass murderer,
Right.
and I've got this tape that tells all these different crimes that I've done." And I want when my demise comes, I want you to release this so that I'm famous.
Right.
And so he gives the tape of his taped confession to the lawyer. However, before the police could be contacted, Paul was on the run again. Now, who knows if the lawyer would have actually contacted the police or not.
Right.
On November 6th in Midgeville, Georgia, Paul meets a man named Carswell Carr and is invited to Carr's house to spend the night. Big mistake there. Paul ends up stabbing Carswell and strangling his 15-year-old daughter to death, who was just
It's not clear
innocent.
as to why he does this. Why does he go to his? Why does Carswell Carr?
Carswell Carr, this was a gay bar that they met at. He was divorced. He had a daughter. Maybe he was in denial in years back about his sexuality or whatever. And now that he was divorced, maybe he was bisexual. I don't know, but he brought him back to the house for gay sex.
Okay.
And there, unfortunately, was Carswell's daughter, who ended up being a victim as well.
Right.
Supposedly, he then attempted to have sex with the corpse, with the girl, but was unsuccessful, according to like reports by the coroner or whatnot, or the investigators.
Right.
On November 8th, Paul had made it to Atlanta and met with a British journalist named Sandy Fox. Now, he didn't intentionally meet with a journalist. He just met this woman named Sandy.
Yeah, at a bar.
At a bar, who turned out to be a journalist. And this is the woman we were alluding to earlier.
Yeah.
Who he ends up semi-dating and spending a lot of time with
for a long time.
the next few days. He's unable to perform sexually with her, according to her.
On the first date, right?
On the first date.
Yeah.
On November 10th.
Like, she blamed it on the alcohol, but the book kind of insinuated that he was having a lot of gay sex, like in prison, and then some out. And so maybe his sexual orientation
It shifted.
was either, shifting or going where it was.
Maybe he was gay the whole time.
Yeah, maybe he's gay the whole time, yeah.
Yeah. Who knows? But he hung around and kept her around and became kind of a leech on her because he wanted her to tell his story.
Yeah, once he found out she was a reporter, it was on.
Yeah, at one point he wasn't telling her exactly that he was a mass murderer, but he was kind of giving her little hints. At one point he asks, will you write a book on me? I'm going to be dead within a year.
Yeah.
And she's like, it's like, what do you mean? Do you have some kind of an illness?
Right.
And he goes, no, I've done some crimes and I'm going to be killed for them.
Yeah, someone's going to kill me.
Someone's going to kill me. Will you write a book about me? And she gets, she's got this weird allure to him. He's the Casanova killer for a reason. He's very persuasive, charismatic, and
right.
She enjoys his company, but she's also weary of him. She's got weird vibes from him. Like, I don't know about this dude. Then she at one point asked if he was like the Hillside Strangler,
the Boston Strangler. Said, you're not another Boston Strangler, are you?
Yeah, he must have found just amusing as hell, knowing that he'd already killed a bunch of people.
She's probably over there laughing. She's like, okay, I didn't think it was that funny.
Right. This is a little awkward now. Are you going to strangle me?
Are you going to leave? I mean,
right. They would end up eventually parting ways on November 10th, not much to his chagrin, because he wanted to keep leeching on. He had met more people in the media through her, and he was really getting off on it. She ended up having to kind of just start avoiding him, basically. Like, he'd be waiting at her hotel down in the lobby, and she would just avoid him. And eventually he gave up on the whole thing. The next day, after they'd split ways on November 10th, he picked up Susan McKenzie, who was an acquaintance of Sandy Fox, and demanded sex at gunpoint from her. She was a tough cookie, though.
Yeah, she was. She wasn't having that shit.
Yeah.
She was like,
so she would end up fighting him off. Like, I think he grabbed her hair. She was trying to get out of the car, and he ripped a chunk out of her hair. She escaped and alerted the authorities that this man with red hair, the good-looking man that Sandy knew, she knew by his alias, though. He had several aliases.
Right.
And the one that he had given to Sandy was Daryl Golden. He'd gone by this name quite a bit. And so the police, they were alerted to a guy named Daryl Golden was on the loose, red hair, tall, good-looking guy or whatever, and he had tried to commit this act, and he escapes once again, and he ends up back in Florida.
Didn't the police tell Fox that who she was really dealing with at this time as well?
Yeah, that he was a
they
killer.
knew his real name.
Yeah.
And then now they had a positive description from her.
They had connected.
So they're connecting dots here.
They had connected his alias name that was actually Paul John Knowles.
Right.
Yeah. So they're on to him. He's left too many breadcrumb trails, as we mentioned. He's driving. He's going state to state in these different stolen cars and ditching them. So they're kind of able to follow a trail of where he's going, and they know all these acts that he's committed. Now he's back in West Palm Beach, Florida, where he ended up at the home of Beverly Maybe.
Right. This is where he busts in and he realizes the heat's getting high, and he's like, I need a hostage and I need a vehicle now. And he had her as a hostage, but she didn't have a car. So she's like, I don't have a car, but my sister has a car and she's on her way. So this is like
getting her sister involved in this,
right?
She must have been
hey,
real thankful.
Take her. She's got a car already. All you got to do is get in.
Exactly.
No, but she shows up and he actually lets her sister go and takes her in her sister's car.
This is what we talked about. He did let one. It's strange to us that he let her go. He knew when she could identify him. And I guess at this point he knew that the law enforcement already knew who he was.
The heat was too high. He didn't want to lay another body out.
And he felt at this point he felt that he'd already committed enough stuff to be infamous as it was, and he really didn't need to kill anymore. So that kind of goes to say that maybe he didn't enjoy killing as much as he enjoyed what it was going to give him in the end.
Oh, absolutely.
So, like, at this point, he already got what he wanted out of killing, so he didn't need to do it unnecessarily anymore unless it was necessary, like we said.
Right.
So yeah, the sister comes home. He then takes her and her car, and they're out on the road. And the following night in Fort Pierce, Florida, he would end up letting the sister go. So like we talked about, I think he's done enough. He knows the police are on to him, so covering up his tracks and killing a witness is like kind of useless at this point.
Right.
And then on November 17th, a Florida highway patrolman named Charles Campbell identified the stolen car near Perry, Florida, and attempted to make an arrest. He pulled him over, where I don't know, how do you
Paul had
how
a
do you know
shotgun,
what, how do you know
apparently.
what you're dealing with, and then you let this happen?
I know.
There's a confrontation where Paul ends up getting a hold of Campbell's gun from him. I guess what happened is he pulled over, and immediately Paul got out with a shotgun pointed at him, told him to get down, drop his weapon, and he would end up taking the trooper hostage and stealing his patrol car.
Yeah.
Crazy shit.
But the problem is that guy just called right at the first phone he got to.
Yeah.
And then it's all downhill from here.
Yeah, so he uses the car to pull over a man named James Meyer. So he uses a cop car, lights up a guy on the road.
Right.
The guy ends up being James Meyer and steals his car so that he can slip away unnoticed. But didn't he kept James and the policeman and put him in the back of James's car, right? Where he continued on to Pulaski County, Georgia. Yeah. He had the 2 hostages.
And this is where he gets them out, and he finally gets rid of them, handcuffs them to a tree, and shoots them both.
Yeah, and the police...
I guess he had to at this point.
But
in his mind.
But what sucks for the local police in the area is they've got one of their patrolmen missing, and they don't know where the hell the guy is. They're hoping that he's okay. They end up finding the ditched police car with like the trooper's gun and like belt and stuff in it.
Right.
And so they're thinking maybe he's still alive. Paul then continued on and soon ran into a police roadblock. He then attempted to drive through the roadblock, smashed through it in the car, in the stolen car. Right. Loses control and hits a tree, where he jumps out and tries to escape on foot with police shooting at him.
He's straight up GTA 5 in it right now.
Runs into he's got 5 stars.
He's got 5 stars, no doubt.
Probably like 3, because 5 means
they don't
like
have the
army.
helicopter after him yet.
5 is like the army and shit. Like it's not this next level. This is still 2 for going on 3 stars.
Guy, yeah.
A foot race ensues. He ends up in the woods. Dogs.
Now he's 5 stars.
5 stars. Helicopters are now here. Especially in the 70s, this is 5 stars.
This is 5
for sure.
stars.
Helicopters are next level in the 70s.
Oh, yeah.
Police dogs are searching for him in the woods. He ends up staggering out of the woods and ends up getting cornered by an armed civilian with a shotgun and held until the police arrived. Now, instead of this point, he like came out. He's all beat up, man. He's got like a scarf on his head. It's bloody from the car wreck, and he's just asking for help from this armed civilian at this point. He had managed to move outside of the perimeter to set up a manhunt and would have escaped if it had not been for that local man with the shotgun, which is crazy.
There you go. Good guys with guns, right?
All that could have happened, and that he still could have got away is crazy, man. If not for this just random dude with a shotgun.
Yeah, I guess so.
He was now in custody, where he immediately started bragging about things. They asked him, how many people was he responsible for killing? He like wrote down 18 on his palm and showed it to him.
Yeah.
But claimed responsibility for 35. So that's what's confusing to me. Is like the book said that he wrote down 18.
Yeah, maybe that's where Ramirez got it from, writing the pentagram on his palm,
right,
and showing it to him.
Yeah,
I saw a guy do this once. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. And they're at this point, the police they're begging him to tell him where, or for him to tell them where the police officer and the other abducted man were.
Right.
And he's kind of toying with him. He said, "There's one word that I could tell you that would let you know where they were at. There's a key word."
What a douchey thing to say.
Right. Seriously. Guys, he's thought,
there's one word I could tell you.
Like we said, he just thought way too highly of himself.
Course.
He just thought way too highly of himself. But eventually they would end up finding the trooper and the civilian too late. They'd, like you said, been...
Well, they were shot point blank. I
mean,
it was too late from the time they were handcuffed.
Right. They'd found him handcuffed to a tree, shot in the head. And at that point, he was now not going anywhere. On December 18th, 1974, he was being transferred to a high-security facility. And he had kind of been saying to people, he'd been writing in letters, telling people in it, like his cellmates and stuff, that he expected to not make it to justice, not make it to trial. He was going to be killed.
Yeah.
Like Bonnie and Clyde, like we talked about, the way he wanted.
Right.
Now, he had told the police... Now, you could say maybe this is him making this happen, or you could say this is the police making it happen as far as him not making it to justice. Right. You could look at it one of two ways. Either way, he's toying with them.
We'll talk about it in a second.
And they want to know. They want to know where the police officer's weapon was that he shot the cop and the other guy with in the woods.
Right.
And he claims he knows he could take them right to it.
Yeah.
And so they say, okay, well, we'll have 2 police officers take you out. He's in the back seat, handcuffed. Another lock-picking moment.
Why did they not search him? Like, what did he do? Have a
Lock-pick of his butt.
Yeah, like was under his tongue or something, like a paperclip just stored all the time. Or
You can picture that movie scene, right? He's in the back seat, and all of a sudden,
paperclip comes out of his
paperclip
mouth,
comes out, and spits it out.
spits it into his hand.
What movie is that from?
I don't know.
That's
in a lot of movies. I feel
It is, yeah.
It's in a lot.
Which movie? Like which of many movies? So he's in the back seat. He's taking him out supposedly to show him where the murder weapon is. And while cruising along, they look in the back seat and he's smoking a cigarette. This is the book's version. This shit is
bullshit.
fucking crazy. Where do you get the cigarette from too?
Where did he get this? Well, they probably gave him a cigarette.
Pretty badass version of the story though.
That was probably part of the bartering. I'll show you where they are if you give me a cigarette.
Yeah, that's true. So they look in the back and he's smoking a cigarette and they tell him to put it out. At which point he comes up with
Reaches up with both hands,
both
snuffs it out.
he pulls the cigarette out with one hand, and they notice that he's not handcuffed.
Yeah.
And that on the other wrist is dangling handcuffs because he had used some kind of a paper clip or something to unlock his handcuffs.
They had some shitty handcuffs then, apparently.
Right, they're like the ones from the dollar store.
Yeah.
You just click the button and it pops open. And so he reaches up to the front and tries to grab the police officer that's driving's gun, which sets the gun off.
Yeah.
The
Fires
gun
through the seat.
Fires through the seat of the car. The other officer quickly draws his weapon, fires 3 times into
2 in the chest and 1 in the face.
Yeah,
he's done, man.
One lodged in his brain, and
right.
his prediction came true. He would be killed before going to trial. There's a picture of him being lifted onto a table.
Yeah.
Have you seen that one?
Yeah, I have.
Definitely
His body's,
fiery,
like all contorted.
fiery red hair, man.
Just throw him up there. Yeah,
wiry dude.
You know, I mean, that's what he wanted. He wanted to go out ablaze, and he got to.
He wanted podcasts.
He wasn't really trying to get that gun.
He wanted podcasts to be made about him.
Yeah.
I said podcasts to be written about him.
You're welcome.
Right.
You're welcome, Paul.
I know. I feel stupid that we did it because he wanted it so bad.
Nobody listen to this.
Yeah.
Don't even
don't support this asshole.
Don't give.
But it was an interesting case, and we haven't done too many where they literally did it. It seemingly just for the notoriety.
Yeah.
A lot of them, they had other motives that got them into it, and then they ended up enjoying the notoriety. But like, not one where it was like they did it just for this.
Just for the notoriety. Yeah, like I don't think he really wanted to kill people. He didn't really get off on that.
Yeah.
He just killed for necessity and for fame.
He was a lifetime criminal. Either way, if he never got into killing, he was going to be a guy that supported his lifestyle by just stealing.
Yeah.
You know, going around robbing homes, robbing people, that kind of thing. But he got a taste for murder with the woman with the dentures and never turned back. And thankfully, though, like the one good thing we can say about this is he's really not a well-known one. He's not up there with your Ted Bundys.
Well, because like we said earlier, his tapes and his written confession and all that stuff got apparently burned up in a fire.
Yeah.
In some
they were
lockup.
They were stored up in a library or something.
Library,
they destroyed when they destroyed the library. They destroyed everything in it, I guess.
Oh, how convenient.
Yeah, maybe they didn't want him to.
Maybe they did that shit on purpose.
They probably didn't want him to get
them.
Yeah, good
For them.
They probably didn't want him to get the notoriety because if there was audio of him out there like talking about the stuff that he had done, he probably would have been much more famous.
Unfortunately, I can't use it on the intro. God damn it.
Yeah.
So yeah, good thing.
That was Paul John Knowles. Just a few things that happened afterwards. Sandy Fox, who we talked about, the author that he had been riding around with, ended up writing a book about him, of course.
Yeah, it was called Killing Time.
Killing Time, and then it ended up getting changed to a
Natural Born Killer.
Natural Born Killer.
That's right.
Was
and that cover is the picture of him with the cigarette. That brooding face.
Yeah.
But that book was released in 1979.
Okay.
So she got on it.
She would end up dying in 2005. Also in 2005, New Dominion Pictures, the self-appointed purveyors of dynamic television programming, produced a 2-part docudrama aptly entitled Dangerous Pursuit, which portrays Knowles as a modern-day Jack the Ripper. Sounds like a cheesy movie. We didn't check that one out.
We found a great indie film of him on YouTube, though. If you guys want to check that out, it's it's freaking great.
These kids are gonna get a bunch of they're gonna get a bunch of views all of a sudden and be like, "What the heck happened?" They have like 174 views on their YouTube video, but it's so
they have 43.
Awesomely corny.
Here it is.
You leave me no choice, Paul. That's it. You're done. When I was young, Daddy sent through the was where I was bullied.
I can't hear it. Put it closer to the mic.
hold
Put
on,
it in the
hold on.
front.
The first victim was the bartender. He started a fight. I finished it.
It's this.
It looks like it looks like a school project. It's like some kids reenacted
Yeah, it does.
Paul John Knowles' career as a killer.
Angela, hush. I plan on keeping you in my life for a long time. I know that I love you, and I want to spend forever with you. So, baby, will you marry me?
No.
I found this. I found this
so
on
cheesy.
YouTube, and I immediately sent it to Michael. I'm like,
Listen,
this is the best studying ever.
You guys gotta go see it. It's called the Casanova Killer,
on YouTube.
and it's put up by Casey CACYY 678. Okay, it's better than anything we've done on this case.
right.
So
It's great.
enjoy that.
I loved it because we've all done stupid stuff like that
Yeah,
when we were
yeah.
teenagers. We used to reenact episodes of Cops, my friends and I. Like, we'd be cruising along recording. I'd record my buddy driving, and he's talking like he's a police officer, and then we'd have
Yeah.
it set up to where one of our other friends would be like trying to break into a car when we come down the road, and we'd jump out, chase him, tackle him. It's all
Look
on
at this
video.
asshole.
Somewhere,
We got a 420.
right, somewhere these videos are out there. If I ever get my hands on them, I'll put them on our Twitter,
Oh
or I'll
god.
put them on our YouTube page.
I'm never telling you guys where to find videos from when I was a teenager.
Right.
They're still
Yeah.
out there. I can't get them down.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's Paul John Knowles. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't idolize this man, please. He's a piece of shit. But he does
Yeah.
have one hell of a headshot picture of him smoking a cigarette where he looks pretty damn cool. It's said that he looks like Robert Redford. I guess I see it.
Do you? Let me see. I don't know. I can't. Who's Robert Redford?
What? How dare you?
I know his face, dude. I'm not good with names. You know I'm fucking good with names.
Right. Yeah, he's,
What else?
Paul John Knowles is proof that ginger men don't have souls.
Oh,
Redheaded women are fine, but ginger men,
I don't.
guys are all evil.
He looks like Robert Redford. Do you think?
I don't know. That's what the book said.
A little bit, I guess. Maybe in the older days.
Right.
But he only lived to be late 20s, so I don't know.
Yeah, and then all these crimes, his killing spree was only 4 months.
Yeah.
That's something we didn't really bring up the whole time. But yeah, all those murders we talked about, 4 months.
Yep.
Crazy.
In 1974.
Yeah. Let's do the shout-outs.
All right.
The Year of Fear, 1974.
That's right.
Shout-outs. We're not going to do iTunes reviews this week. We're going to do Stitcher reviews, as
Oh,
promised.
yeah. Give him some love.
We're going to get back to those people. So, Sherlocked, thank you for your 5-star review on there and you writing some kind words about how we're right there next to Gen Y and True Crime Garage.
Oh, thank you.
That's cool. Deborah says we're her favorite podcast, so thank you. Scarlet78 says we're one of the best, 5 stars. Thank you. Karen W says awesome in all caps, 5 stars. Thank you. Jeremiah Never, we don't know that guy. Never heard of Jeremiah Never. 5-star review. Thank you. Carly the Dutch Texan, love the
Nice.
show. Wrote a really long review. It was actually a really cool review. One part of it said that one of their favorite episodes was the Bloody Benders because they just couldn't stop laughing about how ridiculous and suspicious the white sheet situation was and how we
is.
how we just couldn't understand how someone could sit in front of an old weird sheet with a head-shaped blood stain. So thank you, Carly the Dutch Texan and Marcy May. Thank you. So yeah, you guys can rate on Stitcher if that's the format you use. That's the app you use. You can, if there's a way to rate on any app that you're using, whether it's Podcast Addict or whatever.
Yeah.
It's much appreciated.
If you are using Podcast Addict, those reviews will go on iTunes as well.
Oh, okay.
So
sweet.
Yeah, that helps.
So there's that.
So what do we got?
We definitely neglected last week to bring up an awesome package that we got from Michelle from the Naughty Nitwits. She sent us a awesome package.
From like Portland PD.
She sent shirts to each of our kids. Michael's 3 kids. He's got his whole freaking brigade over there.
The whole crew.
Yeah,
Look like the little Portland Police Department walking around.
Exactly. Yeah, so this is all stuff from the Portland Police Department. Her husband was a police officer for Portland for a long time. And I think she also worked at the port. I got the letter here. Dang it. I read it like a couple weeks ago. She sent this package a while ago. Let's see. Yeah, it's too long. She's a former police officer. She quit
That's
when
cool.
she had kids. And her husband was also a cop in Portland. He retired 25 years last year. So that's awesome. And she sent us like coins and keychains from the Portland Police Department, all kinds of cool stuff. So thank you so much for that.
I want to
And
visit Portland.
Once again, check out the Naughty Nitwits on YouTube, their channel. If you like women sitting around talking, being funny and talking about knitting, if you like knitting, definitely check it out.
Yeah, they're on Instagram and all that too. So
Yeah.
Naughty Nitwits.
Yep. Who else are we shouting out?
We also, let's give a shout out to the new Patreon supporters.
Yep.
We also always appreciate you guys. Thanks for sharing your stickers and your notes and stuff that we send out on social media. That's really cool. We like to see that. We like to see that they're actually getting there.
We got a couple sticker donors this week I'd like to thank.
Okay, cool.
Danny Rose in Linwood, Washington. Thank you. And Brian Fisher in Wilmington, Illinois.
Cool.
South Wilmington, Illinois.
And if you're unfamiliar with that, those are you can just make a one-time donation through PayPal. You can go to truecrimeguys.com, click stickers at the top.
Yep.
And we have Cult Shit stickers. Let's go do Cult Shit stickers. And we also have like the original Creep Van stickers.
Yeah, and there's no set donation amount. You donate whatever you want. A few bucks and we'll send you some stickers.
Yeah.
You send more than a few bucks, we'll send you more stickers.
Right.
You tell us what you want.
Exactly.
If you just want the creep stickers, the van, we'll just send those. If you want both, we'll send you both, whatever.
Right. Oh, you want to talk about the giveaway on Patreon?
Oh, yeah, we're doing we talked about it last week, but on the 1st of December, we were doing a giveaway. If you're you have to be a Patreon supporter.
Right.
But we're going to be giving away a clock. And we put on a vote, either the Keep Creeping clock or the Let's Go Do Cult Shit clock. But we've decided ultimately the Keep Creeping van one got way more votes. But I guess whoever wins is just going to tell us which one they want.
Yeah, that's true. We could we'll just wait to order it after.
Because there were a few votes. There were people that like the Cult Shit one more. So if you're the one that wins and you like the Cult Shit one, that's the one we'll send you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, we're going to be doing a giveaway like the first of every month, we think, if you're for Patreon people only.
Right. So it'll be something from the store. There's lots of stuff out there. There's there's shirts, hoodies,
laptop skins,
iPhone skins, Galaxy skins, all that good stuff. So
we're almost to 2,000 Facebook likes, right?
We are. We're less than 100 away. If you have a Facebook friend, share the page.
Yeah.
We can hit 2,000. That would be awesome.
I want to quickly thank Joan P. from Arizona who sent us a package. We don't know what it is yet. It's at my buddy's house.
It's Adam. Some of you may have heard us speak of him before. Yeah. He holds our packages hostage. Yep. Until we pay a ransom.
Yep. So we'll open that hopefully next week. We'll open Joan's package. Hopefully it's not like melting in there or something. It's not like baked goods or something. Oh yeah, I know. I hope not. Let us know if the package is like urgent, like time sensitive or whatever. Yeah. Then let us know. And if you want to send us a package, message us on social media at True Crime Guys on Instagram, Twitter, or message us on Facebook, and we'll send you the PO box. Yeah, absolutely. And you can send us whatever. All right, what else? We're on Instagram, True Crime Guys, Twitter, True Crime Guys. Follow us on there. Join the conversation. Patreon.com/True Crime Guys for all the bonus episodes that we have on there for $2. Yep. And to be a part of the giveaway and all that stuff. So right. Oh, and the merch store, Redbubble. Redbubble.com/True Crime Guys. Or you can go to redbubble.com and search. Go to portfolios. You can see the different designs and things there. Check that out. Anything else? I think that's it. Is that it? Thank all of you. Thank all of you that support the show and enjoy the show and spread the word. And we love it when you guys share on Instagram that you're listening to the show, screen cap it or whatever, and all that stuff. Yeah, that helps a lot. It helps. It helps. People are they like to give something a shot if they see other people talking about it. You know, like they want to be a part of it. They want to be a part of the group. They want to be creepers too. Well, whether you know it or not, there's people on social media that look at your post and think, oh, that person has a lot of the same interests as me. You know what I mean? Like, I noticed that. Like, there's people that I scroll through Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and I see if they post it, if a certain person posts it, then I'll actually give it attention. Right. It's like they don't really even realize they have that power over certain people, but I think we all do. We all have people who we have interests in common with, and we don't realize it. Yeah. So, like, if you share it, there could be 10, 15 people that look for your post specifically that you don't know. They might become fellow creepers. Yeah, or maybe they're creeping on you. Who knows? Yeah. Maybe they. And that helps us too. Yeah. So hey, it's all good. Hey, we'll take your stalker listeners. Yeah, that's right. We'll put them to good use. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you, and we'll see you next week. One more regular episode before the big Ted Bundy episode the following week. Already? Yeah. Ooh, I'm going to be hunting next week, so I'm hoping we can even record next week. Just so you guys know. Oh, we better. Yeah, we better. Better make time. All right, hopefully we'll see you then. All right, keep creeping. Keep creeping. Tell me in a sentence who you are.